What's up, and welcome to the House of College Hoops and Bet the House College Basketball Pick Show, Volume 1, Episode 1. A little late to the party, but there's been a ton of content all over House of College Hoops. But Will Tondo, Jake Zimmer, and Chris Thadinga stumbled over the last name. My apologies. We got a new face in the live stream today, but we got the crew kicking things off for our weekly college basketball pick'em show. So, gentlemen, how's everything doing, and what's going on?
It'll be a lot better once. Looks like Judah Mintz hit his leg of the parlay. 16 points for him now. We've got Tyler Burton, who hit his leg of the parlay with over 16 points, I believe, as well. We've got an over, and now we need ourselves a miracle Richmond win because they're down by 4. Exhilarating stuff. There's so much to pick from on every slate. It's so different than college football because there's just an infinite amount of this stuff. It's pretty dangerous. Of course, bet responsibly.
Can you bet first basket in college basketball?
Some high-profile games you probably can. You could do like a race to 5 or race to 10 in the Bryant game today.
Yeah, I saw that one.
That's crazy.
Which I almost put some coin on Bryant winning the race to 5 today, and I'm very glad I didn't because Detroit Mercy had him beat in that department.
But it was the Doug Eddard game, 23 points from the Derby darling himself. So Bryant is looking good. But Chris, I mean, noted Creighton fan, you got to be feeling pretty good right now.
Yeah, after they got their feet under them a little bit in the first half, they really figured it out. Looked good. Very excited for, and I'm not going to tease a pick yet, but real excited for the Arkansas game tomorrow.
All right, fair enough. So, I mean, I guess we'll kick it off to you first. For those who follow along the Football House, everyone's going to be bringing picks to the table. We have our lock of the week, and then every week we're going to take those locks, put them into a parlay, and hopefully we can bless the house with some winning. So, Chris, we'll give it to you first for your picks, my friend.
Yeah, sure. The first pick for me was Texas A&M Corpus Christi money line over Alcorn State. Alcorn State per Ken Palm is 350th in giving up offensive rebounds. A&M Corpus Christi is pretty big inside. They rebound well, and they hit the 3 well. So I think it all sets up well for Corpus Christi. Plus, I like Steve Lutz a lot. Their coach, coached under Greg McDermott and Matt Painter. He knows how to coach. And I think the coaching matchup as well as just the personnel matchup lines up well in that one for Corpus Christi. And I think it'll probably be around a pick 'em. Not sure yet, but yeah. And then I like Creighton tomorrow over Arkansas. Creighton seems more of like a known product to me. Arkansas looked good again today, but it's just such a mix of minutes for guys and getting different playing time still sort of figured out in the rotation without Nick Smith. I think, yeah, Creighton's just more of a known commodity. And then finally the lock, Yale money line over Vermont. I think the market is almost over-exaggerating accommodating for Vermont's effort against USC. The rest of the year, they've looked pretty atrocious, and I don't think they have an answer inside for Matt Noling. Yale's still 4-0, looked feisty against Hawaii in that overseas tournament. So, yeah, give me the Bulldogs money line for the lock of the week.
Running with some Yale basketball. Love it, love it. All right, Jake, we'll swing it over to you for your card. We lose you, Jake?
You might have lost me for a sec. Did you guys swing it to me?
It is your turn.
All right. I'll start off with Kansas. Battleford Atlantis winner at plus 130. And listen, this is a pretty decent field to Battleford Atlantis this year. We talked about some MTEs. Kansas is taking on NC State first round. They'll probably have to play Dayton or Wisconsin next time out. Or they will play the winner of Dayton and Wisconsin, I should say. And then they'll probably, if all goes well, match up with Tennessee in the final game here. I like Kansas to kind of just do their thing, to comb through this field. I think they're miles better than any team in this field, so give it to me. Arizona's one that we haven't seen them play any really good teams just yet. And Cincinnati, I think there's just some questions about this year of how good they will be. I think this is a candidate prime for Arizona to go out, do their thing, just steamroll a solid team, but not one that's going to compete with them, in my opinion. We'll go down the board because I want to come back to that Purdue West Virginia game and how important that is. Tennessee Martin has a bit of new life in the building. They had a very horrible scenario just a couple of years ago. Their head coach actually passed away in the middle of the season. So there's sort of a new effort to reinvigorate some culture into the program. Ryan Ritter has done an excellent job. He's brought some recruits in. They're actually potentially a favorite to win the Ohio Valley Conference this year as well. Arkansas State, a team that, in my opinion, I think UT Martin has Arkansas State has had their number these past couple of years. UT Martin's going to come out and punch them in the mouth at plus money. Pacific's going to beat Mount St. Mary's minus 4.5. The reason I say that is because Mount St. Mary's lost 3 of their best offensive contributors from last year. Pacific's not all that great of a team, but they're a better team than them, and they're playing at home. We'll go Wisconsin money line over Dayton, and this was a really interesting one as well because Wisconsin's sort of one that's in the middle of the pack, Big Ten this year. In a post Johnny Davis world, in a post, I'm even looking at their roster last year, like Tyler Wall, a few other of those guys. What does the team look like? And actually, Tyler Wall is off to a great start this year as well. I look at a guy like Chucky Hepburn and say, wow, this guy could be, the X factor at point guard this year for Wisconsin. I think they're going to prove that they might be a bit of a better team than Dayton, regardless of Dayton's resume that they've put together. Lock of the week is going to be Texas Tech money line over Louisville. We saw how bad Louisville looked against Arkansas, how bad they've looked this year. I think the Kenny Payne era is off to a very slow start. Texas Tech with Mark Adams, big fan of them. I had them very high in the polls the first couple of weeks. Their back's against the wall as well. They need to prove a little bit, so I think this is a very much a revenge game. Purdue and West Virginia. I'm coming back to this one because I've identified this in a few separate blogs that I think this is my sneaky game of the week here. You have 2 undefeated teams. West Virginia's 4-0. They've got some solid wins over Pitt, maybe Penn if you want to lump them in. They haven't surrendered more than 60 points to any single opponent they faced. Purdue kind of in a similar vein, they played Milwaukee, they played Austin Peay, whatever, but then they had a really gritty win over Marquette too. I think Purdue slightly has the edge here, so that's why I'm going to take the money line. I would say they're probably going to be favored by 2 or 3 points too. I think there's more raw talent on Purdue, especially with a guy like Zach Edey, who's coming out, out of the gate so strong, ranked 3rd nationally in Ken Pom Player of the Year standings. We'll put it that way. I think this is a really solid Purdue team, and I think they're getting their first big test this week, and that's the card.
Great stuff. Great stuff. So I will head to my card right now. And I got some repeats. So I got the Arizona minus 9.5 versus Cincy. And then I have the Creighton money line versus Arkansas. Creighton, I hate to say it as a Providence fan, but they are looking good despite their Twitter getting hacked, which shout out to Creighton social media team, the Big East social media team. What a video. I thought that was good. So I'll follow suit with those picks. I'm also riding with San Diego State minus 4.5 versus Ohio State tonight, just because Chris, I'm riding with you. I think it's time to give the Aztecs some respect, and they're moving in our polls. So if this pick goes through, I have no choice but to continue to bet with them. I have UNLV minus 1.5 versus Southern Illinois. Little recency bias because obviously they beat Dayton earlier last week, so I think 1.5 is pretty generous there. I also love Utah State minus 9 versus Oral Roberts, and my lock of the week is Rider plus 16 versus Rutgers. Jake and I both saw Rider cover the spread easily against Providence. I don't think Rutgers is off to the hottest start right now. I mean, the record doesn't show what I think personally, but I like Rider plus 16 to cover. It's an old veteran group, and I think they make some waves.
Now, Jake, when the Aztecs win this Maui Gym Invitational, are they a top 10 team to you?
Wow, it's a when?
Uh-huh.
Whoa. Well, let me see the bracket here.
They'll get Arizona likely, and then the winner of Arkansas Creighton.
If they win, they are probably a 9 or 10 team in the poll next week. That's me making that guarantee right now.
All right.
Because those are respectable wins.
What are they in the top 25 and what are they in ours?
I think they're 17 in the AP and in ours. Actually, it might be 17 in both.
Well, let's see. They're 17 in the AP top 25. And let's see. They are 17 in ours. We did well with them.
Did well. We did
but
well.
Chris thinks they should be higher. So,
Absolutely.
Both the AP and our poll.
Yeah, I mean, looking at our poll, if you haven't checked it out, College Hoops HE on Instagram, House of College Hoops on Twitter, which you're probably watching right now. But, a lot of movement. I mean, Michigan State obviously made it up after, their incredible win against Kentucky. And then, of course, keeping it close with Gonzaga in the week one. But anything surprising? I mean, we see Duke fall to 12. We have Creighton still in the top 10. Virginia's up to 8. Anything that stands out to you guys?
You can look at Virginia up to 8 and see and ask yourself if that's like an over-exaggeration or overestimation after 2 games. But, I think it's pretty good overall. Pretty accurate.
Yeah. Is your question as far as the poll goes just –
Are we agreeing with it? Because, again, it's, of course, across a few minds, but anything stand out that you're not necessarily in love with?
Yeah. I'm combing through everybody's picks, and Tondo, I hate to expose you. You didn't have Virginia that high, though.
I that was a mess up on me. That was a mess up on me.
Hey, I appreciate the hand.
We're filling out the forms, and hand up, I was already too late adding everything, and I didn't feel like cutting back 10 picks and copy and pasting. We got to make it a little bit more user-friendly, a little dragging, a little sliding action. Once you start getting into the
garden.
Yeah, once you start getting into the rhythm of typing in the picks, I fell to Virginia to whenever I put them, and I go, it's late at night. I'll fix it next week.
Well, we'll hold you to it. Maybe they'll lose. Maybe they'll lose, and you don't have to.
Maybe they lose. I think 8's bullish, but we'll see. And then
I don't know. So I personally like to come back to your poll question. I had Michigan State at 8. This week. The group voted a little lower. And I'm going through and saying, my top 7 were in large part with the poll. I did have Arkansas pretty high this week, actually, at 5. But the rest of my poll was sort of, all right, who had a worse week than Michigan State? Well, I thought maybe Baylor. They had a loss. I thought Duke having a loss sort of indemnified them, and UCLA got pushed down the list a little bit. So Michigan State for me right now, they come out and punch Kentucky in the mouth. They have a strong win over Villanova. That's a team that might be top 10 in my eyes anyway. So I think 12 is a fine ranking for them. I personally would have liked to see them a little higher, but I think they're right where they need to be in terms of, all right, they've got the national exposure. They've got 2 really solid wins. Now you got to go back it up against a tough Alabama team that has Javon Quinterly back and healthy this year.
And going on top of that, top 25 chat, are there any games this week that stand out to you amongst that group? Obviously the big one, for me at least, was Creighton, Texas Tech. But I'm the one that's standing out to me, just scrolling through quickly. I'm really intrigued about Auburn, St. Louis on Sunday. St. Louis is a team that, I think can make some serious waves. I think they can be competitive, and this will be, I don't think it's an easy game for Auburn by any means.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because SLU just came out. Their one loss is against Maryland, and they just absolutely got rinsed. Maryland took them to the woodshed, and I'm not sure if that's because St. Louis isn't as good as everyone thought, or if it's because Maryland is way better than everybody thought. We knew Maryland was going to be in the mix. I don't know that we knew we were going to have so much talent. Like Dante Scott has just been full steam ahead this year. And this is a really weird situation for a lot of these veteran returners because their coach gets canned and then Kevin Willard comes in and has to re-recruit them all. And then some of them made a conscious decision to stay there. So you didn't know how Dante Scott was going to come out and play, but he's averaging almost 17 a game right now. Interesting stuff. St. Louis's wins right now, I think they're good enough for me to say comfortably. I think they are a good team. Murray State has always been tough. Evansville had a really solid upset over Kentucky a couple of years ago. Memphis, you beat them 90-84. I mean, all things considered, you win a barn burner with Memphis, you deserve some credit. And then over a Providence team that's just struggling to find their identity right now. I think those are some really good wins. And I'm really excited to see how they match up against Auburn. It's a great game to watch this week.
Yeah, and they're running out of time, St. Louis, that is, to build the at-large resume. Auburn's a great opportunity to build that. They got Iona on December 6th. Outside of that, that's pretty much it, I think, in the non-con for them. So this is a pretty big game. We'll see. But, yeah, they got absolutely punched in the mouth off the bat against Maryland. That was never close. So, yeah, definitely a comeback spot. Another kind of betting opportunity for tomorrow, I believe, Penn and Lafayette. I'm not sure. There were some injury questions on Penn. Jordan Dingle, if he's out again, I would absolutely be betting on Lafayette. They looked miserable without him against West Virginia. So, I would monitor that at least for the next few games.
Interesting. Yeah, I think for me, another big one here, obviously Purdue, West Virginia, I've got my eyes on, but another sort of under the radar big time matchup is UConn and Oregon to start off Thanksgiving Day. They play at 8:00. UConn's a team that's a fringe ranked team right now. Oregon got themselves into some significant trouble early on because you lose a game to UC Irvine, you're falling out of the top 25. They beat Montana State after, but they just lost to Houston. And now look at their rest of the schedule out. They have to play UConn. They're going to have to play some good teams in this Phil Knight Invitational as well. They're going to have to go play UCLA in a couple of weeks too. I mean, it's as stupid as this sounds, like you need to win now or you're screwed. Because you can't go into the Pac-12 play limping. Mick Cronin has proved it, as well as everybody else. I mean, you've got Arizona, you've got Colorado, who seems to be deciding to win games now. USC, jury's out. Who knows what product's going to show up in LA this year? But that's a game that UConn's sort of like, every year in the Big East, it's like, all right, let's win. You got to win a couple of really strong non-conference games. And I think UConn, that might shut some of the haters up on them this year.
It's definitely a big spot for UConn. Heavy expectations, and they got to make themselves pretty big in the Big East, especially with teams like Villanova and Providence slipping right now. But it is only November. There's a ton of college basketball still to come. So first show in the books, first weekly show. We got our picks. They're tweeted out on Bet the Houses. You can find all of our content across Twitter, House of College Hoops, Road to the Garden, everything college basketball, and more. So signing off this week, we got Chris, Jake, and myself. Thanks so much, and take it easy.